Ladies and gentlemen, before we start today's episode, I want to tell you about something really special. I'll be plugging it all season. A dear friend of the podcast, Elke, you've heard me talk about her before, and her artwork is amazing. I've posted the link to her website before, but she's done something a little bit special in celebration of Uriah Heep, and I want to share that with you guys so that you'll go check it out. She has painted a picture with an inspiration from each of the 24 Uriah Heep albums. And, you can't do 25 because it's not out yet. So the first 24 albums, and there are little sub-stories within these pictures, and each one talks about an individual song from one of the albums. And there's a little bit of a mystery to it. So it's a really fun adventure to go and look at the picture and see if you can figure out which song it references. A lot of fun. She's done a great job with it. She had the opportunity to present it to Mick, and now she's presenting it to you guys. So check out the link in the show notes. I've got it down there. You can also find it on the website, scotthaskin.com. Click on the Uriah Heep podcast. It'll be there towards the top with a little bit of a thumbnail of the actual picture that she's done. She's got the explanation. You can get with her on the answers, and it's absolutely amazing, guys. Go check it out. And now let's enjoy today's show. Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and not only am I welcoming you to the show, I am welcoming you to season 24, covering the album Livin' the Dream. Now, I record these episodes on the average about a month ahead of time. So as of today, when I'm recording this, there has been no announcement on a release date for the new album. It takes a while to get through this process. And as of now, there has been nothing, but I know that the album is done and it has been recorded. It is being mixed in LA. It was recorded in Europe, and it will come out, guys. So hold on. Just check uriah-heep.com. That is the best place for resources of what is going on with the band. Not Facebook, not Twitter, not asking your buddy when it's going to come out, because the official answers are going to be on the website that is put together by none other than Dave White, who has been a guest on this show many times. But we're covering Living the Dream now, guys. So this is the current album that is out by the band. It came out in September of 2018, so not quite 3.5 years ago, but it is a fantastic album. I remember the first time that I saw them, which was at Boulder Station Casino here in Vegas. And as far as I know, there was no headliner. I mean, I walked in and Heep was just about to start. So, it was a great show, though. And they announced that Livin' the Dream was going to be coming out. And I remember that very distinctly. I was so excited that there was a new album on the way. It had already been recorded. I think the mixes and everything had been approved by that point. So now it was just a matter of, the production from the record company. They got to print all these. They have to create the masters and print all these and then get them all ready for shipping to hundreds of thousands, if not a couple of million places. It's just insane, that process. So the album itself, is fantastic. This features the second album with our current lineup of the band. Of course, we have Mick on guitar, because who else would be on guitar? We have Bernie Shaw on vocals, Phil Lanzon on keys, Russell Gilbrook on drums, and Davey Rimmer on bass. Now, I recently interviewed, again, a month, ahead of time when I'm recording this, but I recently interviewed Bernie Shaw and Davey Rimmer. We talked about, these projects and what it's like to put them together. If you haven't heard those interviews yet, check them out. Now, as we get closer to the end of this podcast, or the, hanging end of the podcast, because, if they do another album, which I hope that they will beyond the one that they've recorded, well, I'll cover that at some point, and who knows? Maybe I'll cover some other stuff along the way. At this point, I don't have any specific plans on that beyond all the bonus tracks that are fragments from, not specifically tied to albums. So what I'll do is, though, I'm going to move all of the Uriah Heep interviews that I've done, and any that I continue to do then will show up on this podcast. So those will all be moved over once I'm done covering all the bonus tracks and everything. Now let's talk about this package that I got. So I have the Living the Dream Deluxe Edition CD and DVD. Why is there a DVD? Well, because there's video. There is a really, really cool documentary called Making the Dream. It's absolutely fantastic, very well worth watching. You get to see them in the studio. You get some insight into how this is all put together. This was their first album with their new producer, Jay Rushton. And, it's a really cool thing to watch. So if you can get a hold of this one, this version is really nice. There's also a video for Grazed by Heaven and a video for Take Away My Soul. Music videos to represent music. Now, the package is actually very nice. You have, I'll get to the cover in a minute, but you open it up, you have the CD on the left. In the middle, you've got a nice little space for the booklet, which I like that they didn't shove it into a sleeve, because they can, sooner or later, something's going to wear out on that, whether you're wearing out your sleeve or you wear out the book or both. And then on the right panel, we have the DVD with the documentary and the music videos. It's a really, really nice package. And then on the inside of the far right panel, we've got a really nice picture of the band with a bluish filter over them, which, kind of matches that bluish on the cover. On the back, we have all the songs listed, and then the bonus DVD tracks or prizes, I guess I want to call them, prizes listed on the back, the documentary and the two videos. But let's talk about this cover, because this cover is really cool. I absolutely love it. I love that blue shade. I love the giant moon. There's like electricity coming out of the moon for some reason. There's clouds around it, clouds beyond it, and below it. It is just a really fantastic fantasy type world. There's a road that splits. I don't know if that would be a lake or what, because you do see land on the right side, not so much on the left, but it gets really dark over on the left. There's a road that just goes right over the water. I mean, literally like right over it. There's no, it's not really raised up very high. And you see the silhouettes of the five of them. I can tell you exactly who would be who. But it's very, very well done. I love the blue of this. I love just that overall tint. It's nighttime, but you've got such a glow from the moon that it's lighting up the road, and it gives you the silhouettes of the band members. It's just so beautifully done. And then the current Uriah Heep logo. If you look at the Magicians Podcast logo where it says endorsed by Uriah Heep, Mick sent that over to me. That is their current official logo. That's in red. Here it's in white, but it is that same logo. It's very beautifully done. I really like this one. It's very elegant, but it's not, like some ridiculous font that has way too many swirls and curves and stuff. And it's very, very well done. And then at the bottom, of course, underneath the silhouettes, we have Living the Dream Deluxe Edition CD DVD. Very, very cool package, you guys. This would be the one to get if you don't have it already. See if there's some still available. I don't know if there are. I got mine a while ago. Originally, when the album first came out, of course, I got the digital download because that's how I am. I'm just going to get the download so I can have it right away. And then, of course, I started doing the show. I'm like, oh, look, there's a deluxe edition. And then I think there's another version of this that also comes with a Live in the Dream t-shirt as well. I think it has the DVD. I'm not sure. And I'm not sure what's still available, but go to Uriah-Heep.com and you can see what's available on the page. Of course, you can always check Amazon and places like that. Of course, this is where I would say iTunes is a huge benefit, because iTunes does not allow you to get that bonus content. So you're only going to get the album on iTunes. Amazon would have the DVD combo, as well as the website, and then, various stores. So check that out. It is really, really cool. Now, first song, there's 10 songs on the album. So we're going to have 10 episodes this season. Does include one bonus track, which is really cool. I was very glad that we had a little something extra there. And the first song is called Grazed by Heaven. Now, I've had people point out, you don't list who the writer of the song is. Yeah, I don't. I stopped doing that a long time ago. And the reason why, as I've said before, is because regardless of who comes up with the idea for the song, everybody contributes to the song. What's written down on paper is the writer might have been the original idea generator, but they're very open to contribution. I really don't think that Phil Lanzon goes to Russell Gilbrook and said, here's all the fills you're going to play and how you're going to play them. No, Russell puts his stamp on it, how he's feeling the song in the moment when he hears it, when he plays it, when he records it, between the rehearsals and the actual studio recording. So, those are things that he's going to put in on his personal touch. Same with any of the other guys, it's here's the song I wrote, and they get the credit for that. They get the writer's credit because it becomes their song. But I'm sure on just about every song, everybody contributes, even if not on the writing side, in the performance side. And what we hear as the creation of the song is the performance of it, is the writing of it. You know what I mean? How Davey chooses to play bass on a song, that's his contribution to it. And whether, maybe Phil or Mick said, well, here's the general bass line idea we had. And then Russ, and then Davey takes it from there. However it works, everybody contributes to pretty much every song. I guarantee, even if just in their performance. So you don't get writer's credit because of the performance that you give when you get the recording. You get the performance credit for that. But that's not on paper. So I don't really care a whole lot about who it says on paper wrote what, because at the end of the day, it's everybody's contribution to how that song gets delivered to us. What we hear is the collective product of the band, that song, that album, whatever it is. And, you can take that even a further step live, because live they go off on, bands go off and do all kinds of different things. They don't get writer's credits for that kind of stuff. It's all in the performance. That's all they get. So that's my view on that. That has stood for quite a while. I did used to read the credits, but the more I thought about it, and the more I realized what a contribution-oriented band this is. You can't convince me that any one person, at least within the last couple decades of the band, solely wrote everything and people played it exactly how they said, and that's all there was to it. It just doesn't work that way with a band like this. And it shouldn't. The sound of the band is the sound of everyone's contribution. That's what makes the band who they are. And that's what makes every band unique in their own way. So I guess that's what unique means. But so again, that's why I don't care about the credits. However, if there is a cover song, I will mention who wrote it if I know. And if there is a guest contributor, such as on this song, today's song, Grazed by Heaven, this song was written by Davey Rimmer and Jeff Scott Soto. Now, you might know Jeff from his multitude of projects. He's had quite a career. I've actually heard of one of the bands, Chris the Conqueror. I remember hearing about them back in the 90s, I want to say. But also, it looks like he was on the Deliver Us from Evil EP in 89. But where I would know him from more so than anywhere else is he was on Yngwie Malmsteen's first two albums, or I should say Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force, because that was the actual name of the band. His first two albums, Rising Force in 84 and Marching Out in 85. Those are the two albums I know pretty well by Yngwie. Kind of stopped following him after that myself, but man, I love Jeff's vocals. He's very, very talented guy. And so he was the co-writer on this song along with Uriah Heep's bassist, Dave Rimmer. So let's get into the song. Let's find out what this is all about. Here it is, the first song of season 24 off of Living the Dream, Grazed by Heaven by Uriah Heep. Well, first of all, the sound is fantastic. You can hear the bass clearly. The drums are nice and powerful. In the mix, you can hear the keys and the guitars. This is a very strong sounding album right off the bat. I love that. I would say the best sound that they've gotten on any Uriah Heep album as far as, the clarity of it all. I think it sounds fantastic. And they have, before people write in complaining I said that, they have had a lot of good sounding albums. Magician's Birthday sounded great. Demons and Wizards, Salisbury, Very Heavy, Very Humble. Like, those albums sounded good, but there is a modern clarity and brightness and bottom end in this album that really is unlike anything that they've had before. And I can see why they stuck with Jay, because he did a great job on this album. Absolutely fantastic for the audio. But the performance is also amazing. It's a really nice intro by Russell with a little bit of a bass slide there by Dave before everything else kicks in. Very progressive riff, really energetic, great song start to a rock album.
Take a look inside my sensual parade. Once you're in, you'll never go. Screaming to submission, no design, a masquerade. The best of times you'll ever know.
I gotta say, Bernie sounds better than ever. He's got the right amount of grit and smoothness in his voice. Really powerful. Just fantastic for this kind of music. I love that little repeat of the progression in between the lines. Really aggressive song, and they're so tight. I mean, the precision is fantastic here. Very, very comfortable playing with each other by this point, obviously. But the fact that they're willing to take on a song like this and say, I think this would be a good song for the band, instead of saying, that's a little bit too technical or progressive or whatever. I love that they did it. I absolutely love that they did it.
Desperation in disguise.
You'll notice here some, I don't want to say extra bass drums because they're not for this song, but normally you wouldn't hit the bass drum as much as he's hitting here on that quarter note. But I like it. It's kind of like to me, the equivalent of like a galloping rhythm or bass guitar for a drummer. You could do it, in other ways, but that's kind of the equivalent for me. I love the way that sounds. The kick is nice and punchy. This is just the perfect drum sound for me. The song is just getting better and better, guys. We've got a nice, somewhat slowed down part. It feels like it's slowed down. The tempo is actually the same, but when the drummer cuts the beat in, plays it half of what they're playing normally, it feels like a different song. It feels like it's slowed down, but yet the tempo is the same. Really cool stuff. I love the extension of the progressive part there. Love the vocals. The backing vocals sound great. Phil and Mick are playing so tight. This is just such a great song.
Colorize me with your physical charade. You won't live this night alone. Feed into my hunger. Realize I'm not afraid. Don't disguise what I bestow. I see you melting gradually. Come to me. The best of times is all I know.
I love that line. The best of times is all I know. That's good living right there. Really dig that concept. Nice segue into the next chorus coming up. Really like the change there at the end on the drums. Just listening to it seems like it's simple what's going on behind the verse, just, the chords, but the progression of them is really good. And there's just so much energy and passion in the song. It's like, guys, it's been 4 years since we've released an album, and you just feel that, God, let's get another album out there and let's make it the best it can be. And they've really done it on this one. This is a huge hit for me, this album.
Testify your soul and we'll begin. Taste my heaven. Succumb to your desires and your sins. It don't feel so dirty. It don't feel so complicated.
Boy, if you were in a mosh pit, that music that they played there would be great music for that, But I really like that they went into that without that progression to transition it. I like that they just went into it. That made it, I think, a little bit more powerful than had they done the progression again going into that part. But that was cool. That was a nice surprise. I love the sound of that. The organ and guitar are sounding just so fantastic together on this album. The precision playing, again, so important to pulling off a part like this. And very, very well done.
We all got the same goal in mind. Is it taboo, maybe? Is it I'm intoxicated? But you know we can't keep it locked inside.
You know, for me, it's easiest to judge the quality of the drum mix when the drummer goes to the ride cymbal and they're hitting that bell. You could tell just by the sound of the drums that Russell's hitting very hard on this song. And through really, he continues that through the whole album. But it's when they go to the ride and how much that cuts through, that's when I can really tell how good the drum mix is. And I can tell you, honestly, that is perfect. Absolutely perfect. You can hear the ping of the ride. You're not missing the sound of the hi-hat, but it cuts through, but it also doesn't overshadow anything else. It is just dialed in perfectly. I love that. And it looks like we're heading to something with a guitar. The introductory song for the album has a just really smooth, well-flowing guitar solo, followed by an explosive keyboard solo, followed by an explosive second guitar solo. I mean, this is a great way to start off an album. I feel so much energy in this song. The solos were performed, so well. The first one is just, the first guitar solo, it just is so smooth the way it flows along with the song. Very, very precise playing again from Mick. Then we go into this, we increase the beat a little bit. And again, same tempo, just played in double time. And then we get this just killer keyboard solo. And then a nice little progressive break before we hit the last guitar solo. And that another one, just Mick was on fire when recording these. But the structure of that is really cool. I really like that we got a second solo. We don't typically get that until like the repeating chorus towards the end when Mick will kick in and start playing a little more solo work. But it's a really cool place to put it here. And I love that bridge. Again, these guys are so good at transitions. That transition going into the second guitar solo was just fantastic, very unexpected, and really progressive. I like it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you end a very heavy song like this. Great opening tempo, Killer ending. Love that. I love the progression of it. Again, they're all just playing so precisely together. Yeah, you could fix all that stuff in a studio, but let me tell you, that would be a nightmare. Because if you're off even a slight bit on one note, it's a domino effect. It throws everything else off. And to try and go back and correct that would be hours and hours and hours. And studio time is not cheap. You're not going to want to pay your engineer to spend, 3 or 4 hours fixing those kind of mistakes. You're just going to want to play them right. And you feel, though, the unity in the band. It's such a heavy song. They're getting such a heavy sound on this album. Absolutely fantastic. I love they've just really nailed the balance between the guitar and the keyboards on this one. And just when I thought a couple times that the keyboards were about to start getting too loud, they really didn't. And that was just perfect. I'm hoping that there was maybe a compressor level set that kind of pushed it back gently. And that's what we're going to hear consistently throughout the album. That would be fantastic. I will say, spoiler alert, yeah, I think that's pretty much what happened. Because the overall sound is very consistent to this song. It's not like, this one is mixed really differently or that one just doesn't sound the same. I mean, they're mixed very, very consistently in tonal quality and balance and volume and all that. So great way to kick off this album. Band's been on the road for a long time. And, whenever a new studio album comes out, I think a lot of people, and I don't really know why, I probably did this when I was younger too, but they tend to get nervous. Like the band all of a sudden won't be able to write the way that they used to, or they won't like what they hear. And a lot of people do get stuck in that, these are my favorite albums and they don't sound like that anymore, so I don't like them as much. It's like I always say, just enjoy what you have. If you're somebody who was a fan of the older Uriah Heep, maybe the first couple albums or Demons and Wizards or, The Magician's Birthday, it's a different band. Bands evolve, they change, their sound changes over time based on all the things that they learn on the road, based on the influences of members past and present, based on, who they listen to, who they got into since the last album. Bands, not people. And, there's so many factors that come into how an album sounds. But I can honestly say this is a very powerful album. They are playing at the top of their game. And a band that had been around, 48 years, I think, at the time this had come out. Yeah, that sounds about right. 48 years or so, give or take a little bit. It's like they got it down. They know what they're doing. And it would be so easy to just fall into, here's the pattern of how we write songs. But again, we've had a couple of recent member changes and those bring new influences. There's different energy in the studio. They're recording with a different producer, so that's going to change the shape of things. There's just so much to it. But I have to say, this album, in my opinion, is one of their best sounding albums, if not their best sounding album. Clearly, at least in the modern age, and the performance is there. These guys are just on fire, given everything that they've got on these songs. And you feel it, you really feel it in the song. It's a great, great hard rock song. Great way to start an album. And I think this is going to be a great season because, I love the songs. It's going to be fun to dissect them a little bit, but mainly we're just going to enjoy some fantastic music by a wonderful band. We will see you guys in the next episode for song number 2, the title track, Living the Dream. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, The Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!